Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls let it tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. You can't go one man, forget my peace. You take the west, I'll take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Not so tough, but mans keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls, let it tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch me, please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
20 years into this show, and I'm not exactly sure what kind of energy this show gives off, Hawk. Probably a manic energy. But one energy I'm pretty sure it doesn't give off is white girls love to tell me I'm awesome.
Hey, come on.
I finally started paying attention.
You specifically, or like?
No, because like the show opened, which that song's a banger. And I really hope I'm not blowing up a spot.
I don't feel like we talk about how much of a banger the opening song is. Every time I do the show, and this is no exaggeration, it's the first thought that comes into my head as soon as it plays.
That it's way too cool for us.
Way too cool for us.
If you guys have never thought that, if you have never thought, man, this opening song is a banger, then yes, it is too cool. Do we know who this is?
So I'm assuming it's a royalty-free track, which is why it's playing, which I'm sorry, kid. Gotta get a better agent. Like that song is so good.
I mean, he's carrying.
I would see that dude on tour. I would see that dude on tour.
Can we make this a thing? Let's find out who it is. There's nothing he can do because legally, if it's royalty-free, this is the path you chose, my son. But I would love to do something for the guy, man. I want to hear his other music.
There's a couple royalty-free bangers out there that live.
You will sneak up on them.
Yeah, like the Hardy Boys entrance, royalty-free. Old school Lex Luger theme, royalty-free. Yeah, there's a couple really good ones.
Do you think he has any idea that it's the show open here?
I really would love to. He probably recorded this like 5 years ago, and he has no idea that a show that's hosted by two 50-over-plus dudes is just banging its way into its sports talk show with white girls that love to tell me I'm awesome.
Oh man, it's special.
I want to see it pop up in like a Taco Bell commercial. You know, because that's what we had some imaging once that we used for some segment. All of a sudden, it's like, is that in that Subway commercial?
No, it was my Tony's Top 5 theme. It was like a Dallas Cowboys like Amerant Bank commercial. I was like, wait a second. I was like, Leo, wait.
That's we paid $4.99 for that.
That's my song.
What are we doing here?
Royalty-free music occasionally has some bangers up its sleeve, and the NBA playoffs has certainly had more than a few bangers up its sleeve. Last night, kind of nondescript night in the association. We know with Steph being out, that was probably the result that we were headed for. The one thing that I was interested in watching last night, you're always going to be interested in like whatever Draymond and Rudy Gobert have going on. So I just have that on the TV on mute just to see like if there's going to be a fight breaking out. But also like, does playoff Jimmy have one more last job in him? Does he have one last heist in him? And I think going up 2-0 on the road is probably a little bit of a bridge too far there. But tonight we're back. Tonight in the association, we got high stakes. We got Cleveland fighting for its life over there. Ernie Johnson fighting to be like the most right ever about a playoff series. And we got the best player on the planet going up against OKC, having done what they needed to do on the road, split one. Now they have home court over in Denver. I'm really curious to see how this goes out, but a pretty chill night in the association. If you missed out on it, you don't miss too much. And over the weekend, we have, of course, New York Knicks all day.
There was a bit of a scare when Ant got his ankle stepped on. We were like, oh no, are we about to lose yet another star for the NBA playoffs on the Western Conference side? Obviously, Steph got hurt with the hamstring injury. And then all of a sudden, he needs help to get hobbled back into the tunnel, back into the locker room, and then comes out like if nothing happened and looked like incredible.
Well, on that note, Paul Pierce. famously went out on a wheelchair and nothing actually happened.
Oh, no, something happened.
Yeah, he shit his pants.
It happens.
So
It's happened.
the key storyline in last night's NBA for me was Paul Pierce walking to work. Because Boston went down 2-0 against the New York Knicks, and he said that he would make an 8-hour walk to the Fox studios.
In a robe.
Wearing slides?
He said
barefoot.
He said barefoot.
In the tweet that I saw. So all I saw was the last video, and I was immediately skeptical of a dude whose nickname is The Truth. So let's play some video here of Paul Pierce. We report, you decide kind of deal, because I didn't think he actually made this entire walk. But Hawk, you told me that he was kind of live streaming this.
I thought that's maybe they had good propaganda, because I didn't go deep into the story, but from what I saw, the articles, the headlines made it seem as if he was giving frequent updates that people weren't questioning whether or not it was legit.
This video we're gonna play is alive, so he was live. I just don't think we know whether there was some like gaps there where it's like, oh, he just jumped 6 miles in an hour.
Okay,
I'm skeptical because he doesn't look. Let's roll it here.
Skeptical.
Let's roll it here and we can have it low. But I'm skeptical of how sweaty he looks at the end.
Time for me to get the stepping. Oh damn. Nice and right outside. All right.
So this is him leaving his house.
Not barefoot.
Yeah. All right, now let's cut now to a later version of it, the one where he's like celebrating. Let's see what we got here.
Damn, dog. I made it, y'all. We made it, y'all. We made it. We made it.
Doesn't look too sweaty.
Oh my God. They got a wheelchair for you. Oh my gosh. I can't
Oh, that's a
believe
good
I made
joke.
it, Joe.
That's good comedy right there.
Sit down right here, Joe. Damn, I made it, y'all. I made it. I made it, dog. Look at this. This is crazy. Look at that, I can't believe I'm never doing this again, y'all. I ain't never put no bet like this ever again.
I don't know.
Now with that hairline in that sun, you're
kinda
gonna
believe it.
You're gonna be a little. You're not gonna be shinier than that.
All right, so when he left the house, it was clearly, I would say, give or take around 5:07 a.m. I have no idea, but looking at the sunlight, and it was kind of in L.A.
It was 70 degrees yesterday.
That's a nice day.
Where, in L.A.?
Yeah.
And that was the high.
Yeah.
So at 5 a.m. in L.A., it's going to be like 58. You know, it's not like Florida where it's 97 degrees 24 hours a day. So if he's leaving that early, I can see where it's a little chilly. You know, he's closing the robe when he's walking out of the house, so it's probably cold.
Our video team is showing here just some like footage of like his day. It's not all Instagram live. There are clearly, you guys put up what you have here now. Clearly Instagram stories are involved here. It's not 100% live. So my radar's up.
It's up.
Yeah, like
Fight through.
Do that time. Wait, good job, Chris. Do that time scrape that you guys were doing in the preview screen, where we kind of like go over this stretch of time. My skepticism is not that he was committed to the bit, but I kind of feel like maybe there was a car on standby. You know that Fox sent out security,
right?
That he wasn't doing this by himself. So there was absolutely a vehicle around him while he did this. There's no way Paul Pierce is just walking 8 miles in LA, committed to a bit for content for Fox, and people know about this. He even put out like the map and the route that he was going to take. So I imagine there's a crew following him, making sure that he's okay. So the skeptical part of me is, and I'll bring in Skeptical Billy here, is did he like go from certain points in this car, freshen up a little bit? I don't care if it's 70 degrees. You're going to be shinier than that. That's where I'm skeptical.
Okay. I mean, the low was 59 when he started. I think he did it.
I lived in L.A., man. I'm pretty spot on.
guy.
I like it.
I like him. Well, I mean,
never realized how much I say I like him until you cut that clip. And then everybody says it back to me now.
It was the pitch, though.
I go to that pitch.
It was
it's like
high
my
off the
go-to
glass,
pitch.
yeah.
I don't know why I do it. I have no idea.
I like him.
There's so many things about this show that have really turned the mirror around. There's so many things that I'm confused about as well. I don't know why people in the street keep calling me Walter.
Oh, that's right. That happened.
I haven't been here for weeks, and I laugh it off as if I know what the hell they're talking about. But it has been happening pretty frequently.
Could I ask you a question?
Yes.
If you ran into Greg Cote in public, would you recognize him?
Oh, for sure.
he apparently wouldn't recognize you. Now, I wasn't aware of this. You guys have never met. Like, you guys have never been scheduled against one another?
I don't think we've been in the same room.
He seems to think that you guys have never met.
Yeah. You might not be wrong.
Yeah, but
I'm also played football, so my memory's not, you know?
Well, he's also
we're in the
approaching
same
that
boat.
age where
Yeah,
his memory.
My brain, his brain are like really neck and neck there.
Plus, it was at the height of us talking about White Lotus and like Hawkins and Goggins. So like there was some people saying that my dad heard Hawkins, thought Goggins, so that's where he got
But
the
his
Walter.
name is Walton.
But
But
it's Walton.
But I'm just saying, I'm just trying to.
Okay.
My dad can just kind of.
You're an apologist for your father.
So he thought my name was Walter? Is
Here,
that what or he like
I have a
misspoke?
clip.
Or
I have a clip of
Let's see, I
someone
wanna see a
mentioned
clip.
you, and this is him being like, I have.
I don't know Walter.
Like someone said Hawkins, and he's like, I don't know Walter.
Okay. Well, I also don't know Walter.
So.
Hawkins. All right. I mean, so that's why people are calling me Walter. That makes sense. Some people have asked me to change my Twitter name to Walter. They have like I'm talking about at least 20 times.
It is kind of odd that you guys have never been staffed on the same show or had interactions. I mean, it's a show that has like a shared universe, and you've been in this building for a couple of years now. It's just,
I've been here.
Yeah,
no.
It's just really odd that you guys have never.
It is. I thought he
Interface.
retired from the show.
Uh-oh.
My dad is very regularly dismissive of other co-hosts. He has this thing where he likes to
He's
be...
the GOAT. He's like he's an OG. I do feel like, though, I've been on the show even prior than the last 2 years. And he may have been on the show while I was like a call-in guest. I'd have to go back in the archives and check.
I think we can have someone on that assignment. Yeah, there was probably a day that you were taping with Joe Thomas in the studio
like
doing a
call-in.
Yeah, although that would mean 3 seats are occupied in this studio. So I'm not exactly sure even if the studio layout would lend itself to that.
Yeah, maybe not. But I don't feel like it was this studio. I feel like it was OG studio. I'm talking like 2018.
Wow, Clevelander?
19. Yeah, like I think this might have been a Clevelander sitch.
All right, well, we gotta track down that video. So I'm just kind of ticking down the moments to Knicks Celtics, and I really wasn't aware that I could be this big of a Knicks fan. Like I worked out in Tim's the other day. Like I am so pumped for this, and it kind of dawned on me because I hated New York and the New York Knicks, and that Heat rivalry when I was growing up meant everything in the world to me. But then the Heat have had such more of an intense rivalry with the Boston Celtics over the course of their franchise history. Now, it never came to blows, but in terms of stakes, in terms of you had multiple blueprint games. You had Paul Pierce's stupid ass in the middle of it. You had so many things going. I hate Paul Pierce.
Clearly.
By the way, Jason Tatum, since the Eastern Conference Finals against the Miami Heat, you include the Olympics, and now he's shooting about 27% from three in these high-stakes games.
He played in the Olympics?
Well, Steve Kerr's decision-making when it comes to Jason
Captain
Tatum
America.
is kind of validated, no? Kind of validated, no? And I know he won a championship in the middle of that, but Jaylen Brown carried his ass. So Jason Tatum, we're looking at you. You got to rise to the occasion. You idolize Kobe? Okay. I think I saw Nick Wright call him. He is Kobe Bryant of Paul George's, which is a bar and a stinging indictment. That is a. How long did I'm going to text him? How long did it take you to come up with? He is a Kobe Bryant.
That's
of Paul
so good.
George's.
He'd tell you like
George's.
3 seconds.
That is a crazy good line. They need to win both games at Madison Square Garden. They need to win both. I know that they need to win 4 to win the series. Thank you for holding up the.
They need to
board.
win 4.
I know, but they ain't winning 4 if they don't come away with both these games. I'm telling you right now. You give the Garden one dub, and they're just one win away from potentially a clash with Halliburton, and then all the videos from that Friday Night SmackDown that they did are going to pop up. Halliburton literally picked up brass knuckles, and Jaylen Brown hopped over the barrier there to stop him from doing that. Like they had a face-off in the middle of the ring. People didn't know that this happened between Jalen Brunson and Tyrese Halliburton.
I had no idea.
Yeah, they went into a WWE ring, had a face-off. Halliburton was wearing a Tyrese 316 T-shirt and jorts. He had brass knucks in his hand. This is something that happened. They had a face-off. Halliburton had his own entrance. This was something that
When was
happened.
this?
I'm telling you, it was like last summer.
We need the clips. Pull
Yeah.
the clips.
Get the stills. The stills are incredible. You think you think it's AI. No, this is something that actually happened.
What the hell?
But we don't have Knicks Celtics today. So what we have today is a blueprint game potentially for the Florida Panthers. Now the Florida Panthers, they've been down 2 games during this run. They've been down 2 games in a series before, Roy. They were down 3-1 to Brad Marchand and the Boston Bruins when they were an 8 seed. They came back in that series at the death, tie that game in Game 7, and then Swaggy calls game. So, like, the Florida Panthers have been here before. Now, I understand, down 0-2. We're just saying how the Celtics are borderline screwed because they dropped the first 2 games. A lot of people are holding up, well, why don't you talk about the Panthers? It's a different situation. They dropped the first 2 games in Canada. Now they come back home. And I got to tell you, I'm not nervous yet. Where I'll be nervous is if Toronto scores the first goal, then I'll be doing all the tricks in the trade when it comes to all the skepticism that I have about Brad Marchand and that acquisition. Roy, I know he's been the best player so far for Florida this series.
That line has been our best line.
That line has always been our best line.
No.
That line
has always been a good third line. Reinhart, Barkov, and that second line, like, it's been a good third line. I'm with you. It's been an elite third line for years, but it's rarely our best line.
Or not rarely. No, that has always been the playoff energy line. That has always been the line. You want to get a winger going, you put them with E2 and you put them with Lundell. And the fact that Brad Marchand is rising to the occasion, I think – good for him, but I think it's a testament to how good that line is. It jumpstarts a bunch of different people.
I think if I'm looking at the first 2 games, who needs to play better, I'm looking at Tkachuk and Bob.
I think people are being a little too hard on Bob. I think Bob has had some good saves. You want to say that he's let in some soft ones. That could be fine.
Well, he has let in some soft ones. You got to make those saves.
The last goal was bad.
The last goal was a bit of a snipe. Nyes is in front of the net screening him, and that goes upper 90. So, and that's Mitch Marner. I understand what you're saying. His positioning needs to be a little bit better. What I'd like to see from Florida is they've let Toronto screen Bob at their free will, and we got to get some bodies pushing bodies
slow
over
them
there.
down. The counter.
You mentioned who needs to be better, and you'd lump Bob in there, and I would put Bob like 12th on this list.
To me, it's the first 2 lines. I mean, outside of the Barkov power play goal, like, the first 2 lines have been empty.
Your top 6 have been bad, and they just haven't. It's not like score goals, guys. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just saying, like, handle the puck. Be where you're supposed to be. Be awake and aware. When Barkov is sending a centering pass in front of the net, Swaggy's not expecting it. I don't know if every pass to Carter Verhaeghe has been bad, but it seems as though that's either been the case or he's just completely out of position.
No. Verhaeghe had it in front of the net with like 5 minutes left in that game. He needed to put that one home.
Well, Carter Verhaeghe, number 1 on the team, needs to do better.
Yeah,
and he needed to do better for the past few months. He hasn't done well at all.
All season long. And I watch these games, and I'm not necessarily sure it's something that Toronto is doing. The Panthers' best players just need to wake up. Reinhart, Barkov, Tkachuk. Tkachuk had a nightmare of a game.
He almost looks like he's still battling with something.
We always do this.
I know, but
he looked good against Tampa. He's just got to wake up. Swaggy, maybe that ship has sailed. I was worried about that contract. Like, maybe I'm pretty sure Carter Verhaeghe's best hockey is behind him. And now I was believing in Sam Reinhart, but from midseason on, now I'm a little curious as to what I've saw over the last year and a half. Which is the real Sam Reinhart? Please stand up. I'm not super concerned yet. Like I said, this is a champion. This is a team that has had its back against the wall, and most importantly of all, folks, that's the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Oh yeah, they got something in them in their back pocket.
They're gonna blow it somehow.
That's a Toronto Maple Leafs. They looked good to start against Ottawa, and then the weight of that Maple Leaf on the front of their jersey started weighing them down, and Ottawa almost came back in that series and tied it up 3-3 after being down 3-0.
Well, here's the major thing that the Panthers are going to have to show up because they're allowing the players to get behind them. Their transition defense has been very good, and the rush against a team who's top 10 and goals on the rush. Like, you can't have that happen. A lot of stretch passes have gotten past the defenseman, leading the breakaway. So they're going to have to show up the transition defense.
Hawk, what do you think? Must win tonight?
Yeah, I mean, if they tighten their neutral zone gaps and get Tkachuk the puck below the dots,
the blue line.
I mean, game 3.
He's right about the neutral zone.
Yeah, absolutely. The neutral zone. Well, that's where the stretch passes come in. And Toronto's very good at stretch passes, and all season long, actually over the last 2.5 seasons, Florida's been bad at defending against stretch passes. I think the upset in this series so far is Toronto hasn't exactly cashed those in. That's coming. Florida's defensemen have been terrible.
Yeah.
All of them have been bad. And I'm right there with you. We need to get Kachuk in that happy place behind the net, like quarterback in that power play. You need to draw some penalties, and you got to avoid the dumb ones the way that Kulikov has. I know Kulikov is going to play, but he's been a disaster so far in these first 2 games. Are you asking ChatGPT
I mean,
for
Forecheck was disruptive as ever, but I mean,
Yes,
there's lapses
I
in
guess.
defensive coverages off the rush that hurt him. You know, expect Maurice to adjust at home to get Barkov out against Nylander's line, and I think Game 3 will tell a completely different story.
Nylander's been the
Well, Nylander, I grew
he's
up
been
with
the
him.
thing. That's what
and
makes me
so-
scared. If there's anything that's scary in this series, is that he's hot,
Yeah, he's a really good
physically
player.
and like literally and
Yeah.
figuratively.
And he's one of the few players on Toronto that you know is a gamer. I know he had that weird thing where was he concussed last year? Where's William Nylander? Matthews hasn't really gotten going yet.
It's still silent right now.
Yeah, he's still silent. Marner's one of those players that tends to disappear, and you know that you're going to lose a game if Marner's going to have a snipe like that. I don't think that goal was so bad. And like I said, Bob had some really big saves. So like he stopped some that should have went in, and he let in some that he probably should have stopped. This is about Florida's best players scoring some goals and just playing some good hockey. Stop being so sloppy with the puck and taking some bad penalties, Hawk.
Yeah.
That's what ChatGPT came back with.
It's loading. It's a little slower than usual.
The real question I have going into this Game 3 at home in our barn, had to say barn, was working in a barn no matter what.
Yeah.
Who's drumming tonight? The first series was not happy. It was like the 7th guy for Inter Miami and then Jonnu Smith. All right, we need to do better. I don't
Johnny
know.
did a good job.
I'm not saying no. I'm not. This is not my. I'm not judging their. I'm just saying name. Like, get me excited.
Kromanski should have never been drumming that drum.
Right.
Never.
It's just so I don't know who they got today. Roy, I don't know, a little inside source here. What are we looking at here? What
No
are we
word
thinking?
yet. No word yet.
Maybe like a Heat. Like it's not going to be like a Heat player or something.
It's
Who
not going to
could it
be Udonis Haslam because he's going to be at the Battle Core Championship.
That's true.
Keep an eye on Jack Nicklaus.
Yeah.
They busted
Golden
him
Bear.
out.
Yeah, that was last season.
That was
yeah.
the Stanley Cup. Like I don't think he's
but
coming
that
out
was
for
You
like-
don't think
round
he's
two.
coming back?
Dude, that
Desperate
was a very
times.
controversial one.
But did they win?
If you're Jack Nicklaus and you
I think
do
they did.
a Stanley Cup final game, you
No, they
can't
didn't.
then like do a round 2 game.
Yeah.
Like you can't go back into
You should
round
never
2.
be invited back if when you drum the team loses.
That's true.
It's all about positive juju here.
Yeah.
But Florida is down 0-2, and the Toronto Maple Leafs in their playoff history are 11-0 when they go up in a series 2-0. Now, most teams are when you go up 2-0.
Except for the Kings.
Yeah, that's very true. And which leads me to my next point, and we'll close with hockey on this. The Edmonton Oilers are going to win the Stanley Cup.
Oh, so scary.
They're going to win the Stanley Cup, and LA had them dead to rights. I was watching that game in the RV at Talladega, and we had them. We had the Oil done and dusted. They had that miraculous they had that miraculous goal there, and then the dumbest challenge in the history of sports, and it just ends the series right then and there. You're watching it, and you realize LA's coach just ended this series. Edmonton and Pete Blackburn had a great tweet about watching the Edmonton Oilers because when that team goes down, it is horrifying. Keep in mind, this is the Vegas Golden Knights, a team with championship pedigree, and they look completely helpless when Edmonton truly has it going. Even no lead is safe. Pete Blackburn tweeted out last night, every Oilers game is like watching someone start a bar fight by immediately giving the other person a gun and then kicking their ass in self-defense. And that couldn't be truer. There's just so much talent. Draisaitl, once again, a finalist for the Hart. McDavid hasn't even truly gotten going yet. They have so much speed, so much talent, and on top of all of that, they've done the suffering. They're pissed off. And they know that they can microwave a comeback at any point. This team is so dangerous. They got that look. I'd be terrified to play them. I think the one opportunity to kill them was wasted by L.A. Edmonton has it going. They're going to be Stanley Cup champs.
Switching goaltenders from Stuart Skinner to Calvin Pickard actually helped them out, too. He's undefeated right now.
And if you look at Pickard's numbers, like it's not like crazy impressive, but if you watch the games – contextually, he's made some very timely saves, some big-time saves that has kept some deficits from getting out of hand. And he's just I was so happy to see Stuart Skinner between those pipes. Pickard is a bit of a different situation. He might be good enough. Now, I don't know if he's at the level to win a Stanley Cup. They're going to get tested, and this clip will no doubt be rehashed when they're inevitably down 2-0 in a series, and then they do that thing again. But Edmonton looks frightening right now, and I think that they've done the right amount of suffering, and it's just finally their time. He's the best player on the planet, and he's going to win. Like thank God we got them when we did.
I don't want to like play this game, but like if you're Stuart Skinner, like put yourself in his mind. Is he rooting? Like, does he want to play or does he just want to win in the playoffs? Like, they're up 2-0. Is he hoping that they lose Game 3 badly
so
that he can get in?
I know,
like,
hot hand. I don't think you could.
You think they would give him even a loss? Like, if Pickard had a bad game, they'd stick with him for one more.
I think they'd give him one bad game.
Yeah, I just always wonder. It's like the Stugotz question of like happiest guy on a losing team. Like, is this guy rooting for his goalie? Because they'd still be in it if they lose it. I don't know. It's just like an interesting dynamic.
Toronto's
of like,
got to go Wall, right?
Yes. Yeah.
They're just gonna. I mean, Wall played well, and you have the easy thing in your back pocket saying Stoley's just not right yet.
Right.
He's still concussed, so you keep riding the hot hand.
He didn't make the trip, Stoley.
All right, so Wall. It's going to be Wall for the next 2 games at least. I know that they have that young prospect goalie that they were really excited about that didn't necessarily run with the opportunity. But this is your opportunity, Florida, to get back in this series. I don't know why, but I'm pretty certain this is going back to Toronto 2-2. I certainly hope so. Florida's screwed if it doesn't. But this is where the champions prove that they're the Stanley Cup champions, and they defend their home ice. Now, they haven't been so good this postseason in home ice, especially not on the power play. What are they, 0 at home on the power play?
50% on the road and 0 at home.
That's going to have to turn around. That's going to have to turn around.
Due factor?
Yeah, and the Maple Leafs are due 11-0. There was one story in the NHL that didn't have to do with any of the playoff teams, and Joel Quenneville is back in the NHL.
That's unbelievable.
It's not though.
No, it's not because Stan Bowman has a job right now. He's in the front office for Edmonton. But that's not a good look.
And I think, look, if in a vacuum, Anaheim made a good hire.
Yes,
Anaheim's one of those teams, and I know Billy was hot on the Ducks. They're right there. They got some good young talent. They need to be a little bit more disciplined. Now, I know that they kind of had a disciplinarian at head coach, but Coach Q is kind of overboard on that. He's a guy that's been there. It is the right hire for them in a vacuum. But also, he was at the helm in Chicago overlooking all sorts of sexual assaults, power dynamics that were totally abused, and that's really, really bad. When it happened, it felt like, given where Coach Q was in his career, that was it. He was never coming back to the sport. And things have changed, and he's back. And Anaheim picked the perfect day and the perfect time to announce it as a new pope is being announced. You could not have gotten... Do you think that they were just watching the conclave coverage, waiting to... All right, we got white smoke. We're announcing Coach Q right now.
Smart. Genius
is.
Level.
It is, and you would think that the eyes of the world would be tuned into the Anaheim Ducks coaching search. But when it comes to, people in power that have overlooked sexual assault, the eyes of the world are going to be on the Catholic Church. It's just like, by comparison, you're talking about thousands of cases and cover-ups. So, like that, we're naturally going to be fixated on that. But Anaheim Ducks, in terms of a news dump, it's hard to get much better than that in terms of your timing, because this is going to get totally swept.
I feel like in terms of hires they could have made that made news, Gordon Bombay would have been the only one bigger, right? If the Ducks hired Gordon Bombay.
Yeah, hiring a fictional character, that would have made a lot of news,
Because the Ducks fly together, if you guys don't remember.
What's your dilemma for tonight's game?
I have an interesting dilemma. I bought my wife for Christmas Teddy Swims tickets on Game Time, by the way. I used Game Time for the best tickets, and it's tonight. And I told her at the beginning of the playoffs that, we hope that we get lucky with this Teddy Swims
You love
concert.
doing this, by the way.
What?
You love having tickets on nights that there's huge games happening. Because it happened the
how am
other
I
day,
supposed-
didn't it?
How can I project this?
Didn't you go to
Teddy
a...
Swims?
He's a singer
He's
that
a
my wife likes.
big time act.
Yeah, he's a rising star.
He's
I'd
a
say.
swimmer.
But and I bought my wife tickets. I had planned on going, and my wife's not
That's
happy.
Jelly Roll.
He's a lot like Jelly Roll in that he's a white guy with tattoos that people like and has the voice of an angel.
So my wife, we're in an argument right now, and she wants me to go. I told her to invite her sister, invite a friend, and so we're still it's tonight, and I still don't know yet how this is going to be resolved.
Did you buy these tickets before the schedule was released?
I brought these tickets for Christmas.
Well, she shouldn't be angry.
Thank you, Roy.
You got to know it's May, though.
Oh no, trust me. Trust me. In these arguments, no more gifts in May and June.
Yeah.
No more gifts.
You
No
gotta-
more concerts.
Yeah.
And if I'm being honest, it was one of those last minute, couple days before Christmas. I think I need one more thing kind of gift. We've all been there. I need one more thing to really feel like I've done enough here. So I just pulled Teddy Swims out of my front. And it's just like, now it's screwing me. I regret doing it. A terrible choice by me. And I need Melanie to go to this concert. So if we can all just push energy towards my wife's friend Melanie, please go to this concert. Spare me some pain.
Well, another scenario here is Game 4 is on Mother's Day.
That one I've already gotten approval.
Wait,
Really?
what?
No. How about this?
Because we have Saturday plans
If
for
they
Mother's
lose
Day.
this game, you're not going to Game 4.
Right.
You're not going that. You're selling that to a Maple Leafs fan.
My wife tried to paint it as Game 3. You have Game 4, so Game 3 is not important. I'm like, I'm telling you, this is the most.
There is no
important.
tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. If they drop this game, you are not going to
Panther.
Game 4.
The barn needs me.
You're
does.
Well, what?
The barn needs him.
If I
pushing
put my
it,
tickets
dude.
up, you know who's going to buy it? Toronto
Maple Leafs.
fans.
Yeah, Maple Leaf fans.
But you already got approval to skip Mother's Day to go to a Panthers game. Now
But
you're
that's just
skipping
because-
a Christmas
you're
present
right.
also.
My wife's-
Like 2 times in 3 days. Like
You're
you're really
asking a lot.
pushing
Well, my
it.
wife is playing this gymnastics because we have Saturday Mother's Day plans this year. So she just is like, oh, we're doing something Saturday, so it works out. You can go on Sunday.
That's a losing game for you, friends.
But
Like,
it's
just
just-
so you know, when Mother's Day comes, Saturday wasn't going to have been Mother's Day.
It was, though. We have before the hockey schedule came out, we had Saturday Mother's Day plans. It's a tough one, and I've put my foot down. Like, we're arguing right now. We are in a fight because my wife has kind of just been like, she's guilt tripping me of like, oh, you don't like, what's more important? She's making this about her versus the Panthers.
It's
dare
Mother's
she.
Day
This is
and
about-
her Christmas
No,
present.
this is about her. This is about Teddy Swims versus the Panthers.
Her-
Teddy Swims is a
Christmas
great
present.
name, by the way. I don't
Yeah,
know
it is-
much
it
about
can't
him,
be his
but
real name.
I'm all for like verbs as last names.
Uh-huh.
I think that's a good thing.
His name's not even Teddy.
It's not.
No, it's Jaden Colin Dimsdale.
Of course,
That sounds like a serial killer.
100%.
Yeah, now
yeah,
you're
those
playing
are
the game.
pretty- yeah.
That's a good one.
Jim Kick is
Also,
a good
like
name.
if you
Jaden,
murder
huh?
people and you sign Teddy Swims, like that's kinda,
also kinda
that's a
serial killer.
serial killer like sign.
Or like Britney Spears. Like, yeah, we know that now, but if we didn't know who she was and she signed like Britney Spears, it's like that's scary.
You know what I've always thought, Hawk, is when I have 2 daughters, right? And when my daughters were born, I felt like immediate relief, and I was like, okay, thank God. Like, no matter how badly I screw this up, there are very few women serial killers. So like, no matter what I do, probably won't be serial killers.
Yeah.
Just statistically. And by the way, I would like to say, like, I fully, like, on record, I fully believe in women's ability to be serial killers should
Yeah.
they choose to be. Like, and I would support the decision. And if my daughters decide to be serial killers,
You'd be
I
a
would
great
support
father.
them, right?
Support
Like,
them.
You'd still love them?
yeah, I would
They're
still
also
love
usually
them.
White.
You wouldn't be any more supportive of your daughter's serial killers than you would your son's serial killers.
Yeah, I don't have one, but I would believe in my daughter's equal ability to be serial killers as
You've
my
made
son if I
humanity
had one.
better.
I don't
Yeah,
think there's ever
possibly
been-
better.
I
think
don't
you
think
did.
there's ever been a Cuban serial killer that's a woman.
Well, you know what? Cross your fingers.
Really?
Maybe we
You don't
break
think?
the mold.
I feel pretty confident in that.
I feel like there's serial killers every shape,
Well,
form, size.
yeah.
Man.
Here's
There's-
the
I
thing.
bet you we can find one relatively quickly.
I mean, the
they're
best
pro-
serial killers, you don't know who they are.
never
They never
find
get
out.
found.
Those
You'll
are the
never
that's
find
the
out.
that's
Yeah.
the Hall of Fame.
Hall
We're
of
not
Fame
talking
right
about
there.
Hall of Famers,
No.
bro. That's
Well,
like,
I mean, my daughters, I feel it could be Hall of Fame serial killers.
You think so?
well, that'd be good because then you would never know.
Yeah.
I think to be Hall of Fame, number one rule is nobody knows that it's the case.
It's kind of like being a good guard in the NFL.
Yeah, it's like when you're the best version, we don't know your name.
We don't know your name.
As simple as that.
Yeah, I've caught myself looking off in the distance lovingly at ChatGPT hockey expert Andrew Hawkins. If he wants to poke his head back in here, I ain't mad.
You're
I ain't
okay
mad.
with it?
There was one story that in the NFL that we actually didn't really get all that into in the day that it broke, and it was kind of weird how it broke because Adam Schefter was like, trade is coming. And then people had all sorts of questions about the compensation, and that was a George Pickens acquisition.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of thought the compensation was kind of on the money, given how crazy George Pickens is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know him personally, but on the field, as an athlete, his persona on the field is crazy.
Yeah, he's
It's
one of
okay
the
to say
crazy
that.
in terms of like watching a player.
Yeah, it's the fun. It's the fun of it.
Yeah, in terms of like spazzing out on the field, this guy is capable of anything. Like he's like Draymond in that way.
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit.
And it's kind of crazy to say this in terms of unpredictability and crazy style on the field.
Uh-huh.
To ever wear that uniform, he's
up there.
He might be gold medalist.
In a short amount of time, without a Hall of Fame quarterback, he's up there for sure. What did they trade him for? Was it a third rounder? Is that what the compensation
which
was?
is kind of, this is a guy that is still new in his career. This is a guy that people don't deny his talents. Had some of the craziest in-game catches that you'll ever see. Unbelievable talent, but also a psychopath on the field and someone that could actually hurt your team chemistry in the locker room, someone that can give you a big-time penalty, some guy whose inconsistency and unpredictability on the field almost seems like a perfect fit for Dallas and what Jerry Jones is always trying to accomplish, which is just like he's just a mad scientist over there putting all these different variables together.
The good news is that they already have a number one over in Dallas, and it's CeeDee Lamb. Me and Hawk were talking before the show, and it's like, was George Pickens a number one? He's like, no, he's a really good number two because you can't have your number one be that unpredictable.
That's
like,
it.
your number one's got to be like, all right, I know my job, I do my job, and that's what it is.
And you got like the number one is the guy you rely on in all situations. I always say and I don't know, do you guys want an analyst, Hawk? Because I got a tweet or I got a message from
preferably
Amin.
hockey analyst, Hawk, but yes, you can do this.
Yeah, I mean that's powered by ChatGPT.
You can do your day job.
But I posted something where I was talking about Mike McDaniel on Rich Eisen, and then Amin commented, "This is the analysis that they get, and we get Fun CTE." And for me, Fun CTE Hawk is the better version of Hawk.
I agree.
But I never know how in depth you want me to go.
Let's go.
We need like 45 seconds to a minute every appearance of actual real analysis.
I'll give it to you. All right, so George Pickens, just like you talked about, he is very unpredictable. When I look at a number one receiver, I want you to be able to do two things at a high percentage. Catch and run a slant when we need it, and also be able to execute go balls, right? Now, George Pickens loves going deep routes, contested catches. He can do that. But on a third down in 5, one-on-one, we know you're getting the ball. We know they're trying to stop you. They're shading a safety your way or shading a linebacker. Can you still get free and make the catch? I don't think George Pickens has developed his game enough to do those kind of things consistently, like to be in a spot always for the quarterback, to make sure he's doing all the little things away from the ball. Yes, we know you want the ball. Every receiver wants the ball, and we know you're great at making a play on the ball, but you got to know how what you do when you're not being the target affects the entirety of the offense and also affects your ability to have a higher percentage of getting open. And that's what I've always questioned about George Pickens. Does he have an ability for a number one receiver, have the talent? Yes. Is he that level for skill, and does he execute his game at the position to be a number one? I would say no. So third rounder makes sense for the Cowboys, and he is the number two to CeeDee Lamb, who will be the unequivocal number one.
I want to stay here for a little bit and pick on that brain a little bit more because George Pickens assumed that he was the number one in Pittsburgh, and talent-wise, production-wise, a little hit or miss. How does I guess I'm asking you to get inside George Pickens' head, which is a crazy place to be.
Ooh.
But it's pretty well established where CeeDee Lamb is in this league. Mm-hmm. And for George Pickens to go into Dallas, how do you think he approaches that? Do you still think he thinks he's alpha?
Oh, yeah. He has that personality for sure. And I don't mind that. I like it.
I like him.
Come on, man. I thought we were faster than that, Chris. All right, but yeah, I like that mentality and mindset. I still need you to essentially do your job. Like everybody, when you're coaching a team or building a roster, like there are people with a high upside, high ceiling. Maybe if this situation happens, we get the most out of them. But then also, if the floor is bottomless, that's hard to build around, especially when he is your best receiver. For the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's like, man, we're going to come into this game and we don't know what he's going to do on any given play. That's hard to build a game plan around. That's hard to see what your holes and needs are as an offense. So you go get DK Metcalf, and you can argue, okay, who would you rather have over the next 4 years? But no matter what, you can say, I know what DK Metcalf is going to do within the confines of the whistle. He still has a little wild child to him as well, but at least as a player, he's a lot more consistent than what you see from George Pickens.
So what you're saying is you don't want a number one who on a run blocking play is people elbowing somebody.
Yes, that's
okay. Gotcha.
Essentially
Just write that down.
Right. Yeah, I'm kicking real game here. So okay,
like don't people's elbow
you're not gonna get that
a dog
analysis
pile. Gotcha.
Anywhere else.
But he was on a franchise that had Mike Tomlin, who's navigated crazy receivers before.
Yeah.
And there were people there to kind of check him. It wasn't the veteran teams of Pittsburgh past. Mm-hmm. He goes to Dallas. And Dallas is the kind of place where they've made these moves and they expect guys to not be crazy, and then they're so crazy because it's a bit of a rudderless ship.
Yeah,
it starts at the top because Jerry's kind of a wild man.
Yeah, Jerry's nuts, man. Bring on the nuts.
Yeah, so like this.
That's a crap.
That's okay.
That's going in the club pretty quickly.
Yeah.
All right,
so who's going to hold this dude in check? Like in that wide receiver room, I don't really know if that's CeeDee's style, and he's not there in his career where he's like veteran guy, right?
Yeah. I mean, it would likely have to be Dak Prescott. I mean, this is a new toy for Dak Prescott to use because it's hard to even – we talked about CeeDee Lamb when there's no other threats. Like, hey, you are making my job 10 times harder by not giving me the balance of making sure we have somebody that you have to give attention to. So I do think it's going to be – it can get pretty balanced pretty quickly because George Pickens seeing one-on-one and CeeDee Lamb seeing one-on-one, you got to pick your poison.
Is George Pickens the kind of guy that you look at and it's like, that's untapped potential? Like, he can be a consistent number one in the league, or is George Pickens what he is? Like, this guy's going to be kind of a helter-skelter experience and always kind of – someone that you can't fully depend on, because I'm not saying like he's a finished product, but I don't necessarily think that it's gonna just all of a sudden.
No. I think he'll do better in Dallas than he did in Pittsburgh, like statistically, and I know that was a big
because of the quarterback situation.
Because of the quarterback situation, Schefter like put out a tweet about receivers who left and didn't do better, and he also had Mike Wallace on there. I would argue Mike Wallace doesn't belong on that list, but then Emmanuel Sanders did well, Plaxico Burress did well as well, and the fact that Pickens is early in his career and he's going to a better quarterback with a need for what he does, I think will be it. But to your question, yes, it will always be all over the place. Antonio Brown, who obviously people think of every time they talk about Steelers receivers and what Tomlin had to deal with, what Antonio Brown did better than anybody is be obsessed with football. I mean, this is a guy that I remember after my first year in the league, we were both had an appearance with the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl, and he's like, yo, come, I'll come to your room at some point, blah, blah, blah. So this is like a week after the season. My body still hurts from the last game. His season is over. This is before he's taken off as Antonio Brown. And I knock on the door. He drenched in sweat with a ladder in the hotel room. Got done with an hour and a half of just ladder drills. And I'm talking about drenched in the room, brought his own ladder. And this is what he is always. And when you put that kind of work in, it's going to show up on the field. I don't know if that is George Pickens. But that is the only way you can say, okay, George Pickens, I'm confident he'll develop into a consistent player at a high level.
I mean, it's definitely a sad story what happened to AB, because you look back at interviews from that time. He was just a different cat. And the eyes weren't as glassy like that. I mean, we all know that there's a lot going on there with AB. I mean, it certainly played out in the public before, but people forget like where he came from, what he had to do to work.
He's a dog.
Yeah, absolute dog. Even if, like with the hard knock stuff and his feet all torn up, like that guy would work super hard, and then lost the plot. Everything got away from him, and what was going on between the years played a factor there. But I don't know if George Pickens has ever shown the commitment to the game that AB has.
No, and maybe because he didn't have to get it the same way AB had to get it out the mud. You know what I mean? AB comes from a horrible neighborhood in South Florida. Family situation not great.
No, he had to fight for his life.
Literally fight for his life. Was on his own as a young teenager. Packs his bag up, literally one bag, and goes to walk on at Central Michigan. He's a 6th rounder. He leaves it. Like, literally, he had to earn every piece of it. So I think just that mentality of him not knowing what was next is what fueled the way that he worked. I don't know if that's George Pickens' reality.
Well, the Dallas Cowboys, when they typically take these swings, I don't know what the record is. It kind of feels like the Dolphins do when they go after like big time talent. It doesn't always work out. It's worked out like in some cases with like, you can argue Brandon Marshall it worked out. Certainly with Ricky Williams it worked out, but their history is littered with guys that they took big swings on, David Boston types, where it just didn't end up working out. And Dallas, it starts at the top, and it kind of always feels like they take these swings and it doesn't necessarily go their way. Usually you can lump in the Cleveland Browns, and I want to have a discussion with you, a Cleveland Browns luminary, about what the F they did a couple of weeks ago.
Stugotz is in studio. Mikey A is here. We talked to that damn Chris Sims, and we really don't want to talk. In fact, I'm not going to talk to Chris Sims. You guys talk to Chris Sims. I'm not going to be part of that.
You're scared of Sims, huh?
Wow. Scared, disgusted by is more like it.
Why are you disgusted by Chris Sims?
I mean, he shows up. He doesn't shave his face, has little to no respect for us. It's just pure insanity. We were supposed to talk to him at the Super Bowl. He never showed up at our set. Like, that guy, enough with him.
Yeah. Well, he did show up at the set. He spent like 45 minutes with us.
Nah, he was going to come again. It was a whole thing. Trust. I'm telling you, he owed us. By the way, speaking of owing us,
yes,
you, the fans, you don't owe us, but we would be forever indebted to you if you would subscribe to our podcast feed, our YouTube feed, all our socials. We'd love you forever and ever.
Yes, we would. We love you regardless, but do it for me. Do it for Billy.
We'd love you more.
Yes.
We'd love you more.
Most importantly, do it for Mikey A and do it for Billy. All right? Do it for us.
Yeah. And do it for the new Pope who's from Chicago.
Yes. Oh, yes. And speaking of Chicago, well, no.
Listen to God Bless Football.
No.
Goodbye, everybody.
I was gonna tease something with Sebastian Janikowski, and I got mixed up. Wrong team. Who's the Raiders? We dissect the worst draft pick in the history of the draft. Bye.
Tony just came bashing in here.
Yeah, he did.
He wanted to do the promo with us, but I told him to get out because he's not on the episode.
You're not on this episode.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Got to come to work more.
Yeah.
But you know what we did talk about on this episode?
Oh, so much good stuff.
We did talk about a lot of good stuff, but we also talked about the topic that you really grinded on was what stupid things we believed as kids.
Should I reveal it now? A little spoiler alert?
You can do yours.
When I was a kid, I believed that if I picked my nose, my finger would get stuck in it.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that our parents tried to scare us with like that. Like
swallowing gum.
We also, the one I said was my parents always had me believe that if you turn the car light on, the cops are going to pull you over.
You can't walk under ladders.
Can't walk. Well, that's just a suspicion.
Superstition.
Thing.
There's a difference between superstitions and.
Yeah, I'm not superstitious. I'm a little stitious.
Nice.
Yeah, I get that. That's from The Office. I stole it.
Check out the Mystery Crate.
Yeah, this episode of Mystery Crate with me, Billy, Chris. We let Ethan in.
Yeah.
Yeah, he talks a lot.
Yeah, not too much though.
No.
The right dose of Ethan.
Yeah, he talked about how he used to go to camp when he was a kid in Pennsylvania.
That was a boring story.
It really was. I thought
but you should tune in despite that story.
Correct.
You should tune in.
Yes. Get around that. Watch Mystery Crate.
This episode is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
It's a good sports weekend. High-stakes playoff games on the ice, on the court. And there was a really good UFC card. However, there have been some fights that have been dropping off this card. I was excited to watch Gilbert Burns versus Morales. That fight has apparently been canceled. But Jose Aldo's on this card. Tony, are you excited about this? This seems like a sicko's delight, this UFC card.
Very good card, Mike. There's also been something else that's been dropped off. The MMA Hangout. Unfortuitously, not doing a stream tonight.
Just this
on
one.
Saturday.
I don't
Just
think
this
that's
one.
fortuitous.
It's unfortuitous.
Yeah, that's closer to it. Is that a word?
I think re-fortuitous.
I don't know about that.
I like it.
Ill-fortuitous.
That one for sure.
Yeah.
That one for sure. But no MMA Hangout for UFC 315. We'll be back doubling up on in the month of June. We've got 2 cards. We've got UFC 316 and we've got 317 UFC International Fight Week at the end of June. We've got Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili in Newark on the 7th of June. So we got a packed June, but we're going to take this one off to recalibrate and retool for June.
Are they feeding Aldo to Zabi or what's the deal here?
Aldo's held his own. Like, he's probably one of the legends of the sport in his division, but he's still kind of fighting well, right? So what I'm more interested to see is Bilal Muhammad beat Leon Edwards in London at like a 4:00 a.m. card. Now the question is he good enough to win this fight against Jack Della Maddalena? And then what he wants to do.
One of the great names to say.
JDM, yeah, Jack Della. So
say it one more time.
Jack Della Maddalena.
Jack Della Maddalena.
Yeah. from down under.
Jack Della Maddalena.
Yeah,
JDM.
It's a fun one.
That is fun.
So if Islam, who's the owner of the pound-for-pound best fighter on the planet, Islam Makhachev, he's the 155 champ. He's looking at 170, which is the next division up, and saying, if Bilal Muhammad beats JDM, I'm going to go fight Bilal Muhammad, who I know I can beat, to take the 170 crown, be two-division champ for 155 and 170. So there's a lot of things happening in the next couple of months where Ilia Topuria might have who he's fighting now that he's moved up to lightweight from featherweight. So a lot of exciting things happening in UFC 315. Unfortunately, MMA Hangout will not be streaming live, but we will be streaming live on the 7th for June 7th, for UFC 316, and then June 28th for UFC 317 International Fight Week.
Fortuitously. Actually, the sports weekend gets going at 1 o'clock here because there's a time-honored tradition that starts at 1 p.m. Eastern today.
You think Hawk knows what it is?
The end-of-season Pat Riley presser.
Oh,
and
shoot.
Billy, I know you're charged up about this.
Million
Look,
guesses.
there is a certain special specter hanging over this one that hasn't hung over a Pat Riley postseason presser before.
Pat Riley postseason presser. That's
another one.
That's a good one as
Jack
well.
Della Maddalena.
I feel like he doesn't. I think what you're hinting at is he going to announce that he's stepping down or aside in any regard? I feel like that would be built up more. That would be a video they would release. Like I feel like that's just not just going to be Pat walking up to a stand. Hey, I'm done. I think we're going to get something bigger than that. And
What do
Mike's
you
giving
think?
me a look.
Mike's giving you a look.
There'd
like
be
I have
buzz
information.
about.
You know
It's
something?
9:50 right
Mike, what's
now.
up? You know something?
I don't think Pat would. I mean,
Ever retire? Or admit that he was wrong.
Who retires first, LeBron or Pat Riley?
Wow.
LeBron.
Yeah,
LeBron.
LeBron.
Oh,
LeBron
wow.
retires first.
I didn't
I
expect that
don't
answer.
think Pat is capable.
You don't think it's possible?
No, man. I think Billy nailed it.
I saw like an Instagram post. There was a slide thing, and I love a good slide where I have to go and it like teases one to the next. It's like Jackie Chan announces when he will retire, and I was like, oh, I got to go to slide 2 to figure out the announcement. And I go to slide 2, and she says, never. Of course.
I will say though, when Pat stepped aside as head coach, that was a shock, and now he did come back, but
It was a shock to him as well. I thought, what the hell did I just do?
He did come back, but he didn't have this big hullabaloo surrounding his stepping down.
Hullabaloo, that's a good one.
It kind of caught people by surprise. So what is different about this Pat Riley postseason presser is vibes I don't think have ever been this down around this franchise. It has become evident that he failed. You know, it wasn't just the players, coaches. There was an architectural flaw around this team, and this season gave credence to the fact that, yeah, I know, at the end of the day, you made it to 2 finals. One is an 8th seed. One in the bubble. One, you went on an improbable run. No one's ever going to take that away from you. But also, it worked against the best interests of this franchise over the last 2 seasons because it tricked you into thinking that team was championship caliber, and they just got hot. They were fluky. It pains me to say that. There were so many great memories. Beating Boston's ass, I love it. It's great. Great memories. But that team was not going to get over the hump as it was built. They needed a player better than Jimmy Butler. This president failed the franchise.
So what do we want here? An apology?
I do. I do. I don't want to hear him. I don't want to hear
Good
him.
luck with that.
I'm not one of those people that's pushing Pat Riley out the door. I'm one of those people that have been holding him accountable and apologizing to the audience for all the water that I carried for him.
Acknowledge
over the
how
years.
bad it is.
Yeah, I want to hear you say, I'm sorry, this one's on me. I shouldn't have put out that press release. I shouldn't have put one of the game's most volatile players. I shouldn't have backed him into a corner and nuked my season by having him hold it hostage because I misread that because of my own ego and pride. That's what I want to hear from Pat Riley, an acknowledgement that it wasn't just on Jimmy Butler. It was you and Jimmy Butler clashing heads, having this power struggle that was beyond stupid for a team that finished 10th in the Eastern Conference.
That would be incredible. It's not going to happen.
I think there will be an acknowledgement of this hasn't been our best year yet.
Nah, we're moving forward with people who want to be here.
No, you
Last
have to be
year, that wasn't the
accountable.
case.
Like,
I mean, there will be
peak culture.
very limited accountability.
There will be a line or two.
Whale
of,
hunting.
It's not good right now. I know we need to fix
What comes
this.
first, an apology or a retirement for Pat Riley?
A retirement.
Retirement.
I'm just trying to get a gauge.
I
here.
think that- I
I'm
think-
just ranking the system.
I think-
so. LeBron retires.
You don't think
What's
this one
next?
got to him?
Okay.
You don't think that this season in particular was a thudding acknowledgement that they had it wrong.
He's had to have heard the noise. Like, you have to acknowledge it.
No, he has. Like the stuff that he's leaked out, like the one South Beach sessions, like the I'm washed thing that he did with Dan. Like, he's heard the chatter. He knows. He knows. He knows he lost me over the course of the season. I know that. He knows that he's got to pay Terry Rozier $26.5 million next year.
The Rozier thing. Can he just be like,
yeah,
my bad.
My bad. It's already been leaked out to beat writers. Like, they know. They know. With finality, they botched that one. And he'll probably acknowledge that today, but there's huge obstacles here. What are you going to give the fan base to excite them? Pat Riley is always good about that. But I think what I want more than anything is a pound of flesh. I want an acknowledgement that your ego, your pride got in the way, that you failed in putting a right roster for one of the greatest head coaches ever together, but also because of BS, you kind of interfered with the season and you made it worse than it should have been by not trading Jimmy over the summer, by backing him into a corner, by upping the ante, and if you believe what Jimmy's leaked out to The Athletic, by having a ridiculous meeting with Jimmy Butler that he turned around and used against you. Like, we need to acknowledge that we failed here, and you don't have much time, Pat. Like, you're getting up there. I want Pat to ride off in the sunset with the ultimate glory of a championship, because that guy, one of the greatest head coaches of all time, certainly one of the greatest executives of all time, one of the greatest motivators of all time, one of the great personalities in that sport, certainly a South Florida hero. I've always maintained this team could go winless next year. Pat Riley gets to decide how he wants to go out. There is no Miami Heat franchise. There is no legacy. There is no culture. There are no banners without Pat Riley. If there is one, this was a nothing franchise before Pat Riley got here. If there is anybody in this town that deserves to write their way out, it's Pat Riley. Just don't be delusional. Don't pee on my shoe and tell me it's rain. Don't like get me excited for next year, but acknowledge that you kind of let me down.
The thing is, when you're talking about writing the storybook ending for Pat Riley, like, you look at the landscape of the NBA right now, and the Heat are so far away from winning a title with the current roster construction and with the options that are coming out as far as free agents, as far as players you can trade for. There's so many teams that are so loaded and ready to take that next step as younger teams like the Houston Rockets. Like, there's teams out there that you're like, oh, they're so much closer. For the Heat to chase that championship, it's like, how many years can Pat chase, and how many years can he try and build a championship roster that it's like, we're getting really up there.
Yeah, and how open can he be about all the failures that he's perceived to have done, especially this season, with that on the back burner? Like, basically, you start to build your own case to get you out of there. I wouldn't self-incriminate that way, but I get why you want, that kind of accountability.
And look, Bam's still young. He's technically in the prime of his career. It feels like he's older than he actually is. But I don't know. It's not like when they had the down year, you knew that when they drafted Michael Beasley, didn't get lucky enough to get the top pick, and Derrick Rose. You still had a player in the prime of his career that you knew could get you there in Dwayne Wade. Is the superstar player that could be a piece on a championship team on this roster? We know that that's not the case because they were in the play-in as a 10 seed and got in and got thoroughly dismantled by a team that is, by the way, down 0-2 to the Indiana
Getting
Pacers.
exposed.
Yeah, hurt.
Albeit, but still.
It's not just that the Cleveland Cavaliers are great. In fact, they're looking a little funny under the light. You were just really, really bad.
It worked out better that they got Michael Beasley, right? Because had they gotten Derrick Rose, they never would have had a big three. Yeah, exactly.
You never know how that shakes out.
They would not have had the big three if you had Derrick Rose.
I think you have a big three with Derrick Rose.
If Derrick Rose is part of it, do you have a big three?
Do you get Bosh instead
Derrick
of LeBron?
Rose won an MVP, dude.
Man.
Derrick Rose went on to win an
They
MVP.
took that one away from LeBron.
Let's be honest. I don't know if you have LeBron. You probably don't have. Probably don't have Chris Bosh, and you have like three little guys. Well, two little guys on the perimeter in Dwayne Wade and Derrick Rose and. Maybe you revolutionized basketball before and you put LeBron at the 4 and there's just no Chris Bosh. But that's tough.
That's tough.
I'd rather have
the
had
4
Derrick
was
Rose.
revolutionary at that point too.
You'd rather have had Derrick Rose than the
Michael
big
Beasley?
three?
Than Bees? No.
Yeah.
I would have taken Beasley. Bucket
Hullabaloo is a great white saying.
It is.
That's like a top tier. That, like, why I oughta, they snapped with that one. Over my dead body is a GOAT white phrase.
That's a good one.
And my favorite is I don't give a rat's ass. Is like, for me,
they killed it with that one.
Yeah. Hall of Fame white sayings.
There is a good one. Like
spitting right there.
We did a lot of like Cuervo
rat's
content over the last week.
It's top tier.
I wore a backwards hat, and in the comments, like, did that hat come with instructions? I was like, wow, top tier old man banter.
That's a Greg Cote line.
That is top tier. Like, you got my ass. You're right. I don't know how to put hats on. It didn't come with instructions. I didn't know what side was the front. You got me. Hey, an American Pope. Don't look now, but there is an American Pope.
Whoa.
Pope.
Don't look now.
Yeah, it became
excellent.
Don't look now. What? I'm in the host chair. I don't have to do the flippy thing. Like that. Don't look now is do we have it? Don't.
Hold on. We're looking. You're looking. That's the problem. You got to close your eyes, and then there it is.
It's time for a new game.
I'm not getting up for this one.
Don't look now.
Don't look now. Presented by Smirnoff, the world's #1 vodka. Please drink responsibly.
Finally, don't look now. Presented by Smirnoff. Guys, don't look now, but Hawk, one of your wide receiver brethren, the Jags released Gabe Davis.
Oh, welcome to Buffalo.
12.
That dude sucks. That dude's a terrible football player. Gabe Davis is a bad football player. He's a bad football player, has been for several years.
You haven't needed to look for that one. But they gave him a 3 for $39 deal, which I thought was interesting, and then they cut him after 14 months.
Look, he played in a really weird AFC Championship game, and I know he went.
He was
off.
incredible.
He was great, but so was Josh Allen. Come on, man. Gabe Davis is bad.
He's going to go back to Buffalo, and he's going to resurge like what prompted the Jaguars to give him that contract in the first place because he has Josh Allen.
Did the Bills get Elijah Moore?
I believe they did.
I think that was last week's Don't Look Now.
That was. What do you think about that?
I like Elijah Moore, man.
I like him.
There he is. I think he's a really good slot. I think he needs to be with a quarterback like Josh Allen who can give him the time to get open. His key is separation, but that takes time. You don't get a lot of time in Cleveland.
Unfortunately, the next news, Panthers cut Jadeveon Clowney.
Wow, he was on their roster?
Shout out to Jadeveon Clowney.
For a year.
I was not looking then.
Now you're not looking again?
Did you know that Jadeveon Clowney was a Carolina Panther?
You guys look like Star
I didn't
Trek.
know that. The fact that he's still playing is give him a round of
It's
applause.
kudos?
Is what that means.
Why would he sign with? Why would he sign with Carolina?
Money.
1 year deals. That's what he does.
Yeah,
for like
but
the
he's a
last
mercenary.
decade.
But isn't he a mercenary with teams that got a chance?
Got a chance to.
Those didn't
direct
call, so-
deposit.
Exactly.
Or was that like an I'm coming home type of deal?
Yeah, maybe that's it.
It's like, hey, you're offering me how much? Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah.
All right, last one here. The legend, the GOAT, Tom Brady, who his mentee is, Shadour Sanders, says, use the slide as motivation, Shadour.
Chip on the shoulder.
I would love to talk about the Cleveland Browns situation with noted Browns luminary Andrew
Let's
Hawkins,
do it.
but I don't know if I can look at
We
the
can
guy.
look. We can look. Yeah, we can look. We're good.
Yeah, I haven't had an opportunity to talk to you about this craziness. Now, the Cam Ward thing never happened for Cleveland. That means I'm back to.
I know that was the worst part.
That
We
was
didn't get Mike back. I have that down as my point here. The Cleveland Browns fan base did not bring Mike Ryan back into the fold because we didn't get Cam Ward.
Are you a Titans guy now? Not sorry to jump in, but you said you were going to kind of follow him. So are you?
I'll support.
The Titans
yeah.
your squad?
Yeah, I support Baker, and Lord knows I love Cam Ward. I'm going to be rooting for Cam Ward there. I might become a Titans guy. We'll see how that plays out organically. One thing that I'm not is I'm not a Browns guy.
Yeah,
that should have been
We
a
didn't get you
Godfather
back.
offer, and honestly, it should have been talked about in the halls at Berea. Like they should have talked about, is it Berea or Berea? Berea. I think I made it a taco.
Berea.
Berea.
Yeah.
JJ
And
Berea.
Delicious.
It's Nylander.
Place in L.A.?
Nylander Berea.
Yeah. So they don't get the quarterback that's going to turn their franchise around. Instead, they get two of them.
Get two of them. There you go.
What their needs, I know that Hard Knocks is up in the air. In fact, they were going to go to college, and then Jordan got in the way. Can we just do Netflix quarterback, but just stay in Cleveland?
Just training
like
camp.
I just want to see the battle. I want to see the first position meeting of the offseason at Cleveland. Now, to me, knowing how Jimmy Haslam operates over there, the Shadour thing, and just watching Andrew Berry go be on camera and have to Stefanski's fake clap. This was a Jimmy Haslam call, was it not?
If I do not have that information,
I don't
but
think we need it.
I think I was thinking very similar things during the time. I think it was a great pick. My son has been on cloud 9 since then, and my son is 13. What generation is he? Gen Alpha, or is that Gen Z? Yeah,
It's like astrology. When you're out there,
Anyway, Shadour, if you're a
I'm close to
Browns
40.
fan and you're a Gen Alpha kid, I mean, when I say he's had a newfound swagger since the NFL draft, just because Shadour is on the roster, it's going to do a lot there.
Has anyone ever been done dirtier than Dylan Gabriel?
Yeah, that was a dirty situation.
RG3?
I mean, but RG3 was so very clearly the guy and got the base excited. Like, he wasn't sweating Kirk Cousins.
The bigger name was picked first there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like this is a way different situation. Dylan Gabriel is not a bigger name than Shadour Sanders. Not even remotely close.
They took Kirk in the
that's
third
another
round.
thing. They shouldn't have taken Dylan Gabriel in the third round. That was a ridiculous pick. Dumb pick.
Do you think it was too high?
Yeah, way too high.
He's high.
Yeah.
In that video we played a few
Way
weeks
too
ago.
high.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think Kirk was a 4th rounder.
Okay, still close enough for you
Still
taking a
close
guy
enough.
who's
but
I mean,
top two.
the history is that Shanahans were like, they weren't big on RG3, and they're like, we need somebody else just in case.
Kirk
so that
had a bit of career.
That had the whole situation and how it's gone down historically. It's all played a piece to it.
You remember when RG3 at the time was like looking around at the greatest coaching staff ever assembled and been like, you don't know what you're talking about. And then you fast forward like 8 years and he's still like, they didn't know what they're talking about.
king.
And there's like, it's Kyle
All of them are
Shanahan, Sean McVay. Like, what are
Yeah.
Robert
McDaniel.
Kirk.
what are we doing here, Rob?
I think Dylan
Rob.
Gabriel and Shadour Sanders is so interesting because Shadour really does have first-round tape. Like, I feel like through the draft process, and I know this has been talked about at nauseum, but like it was a tanked process from the very beginning. But it's like when you're watching somebody like him, because it doesn't stand out as a rocket arm, it doesn't stand out as any of these like specific qualities where like, oh yeah, no, this is top 10 status. Everything outside of that is now what you're judging them on. And I'm sure hindsight is 20/20, and if they could go back, they would go through the process differently. But there's a list of people who have like tanked his draft status.
Mm-hmm.
First, it was Dion,
Yeah.
right? For a lot of reasons, but mostly because he had Shadour last of his 3 children.
Can you please do me the favor, though, and say Shadour tanked his draft status the most?
Well, he's on the list.
Yeah,
So we're going to start with Dion because I have a theory that if Shiloh Sanders and Shadour Sanders swapped personalities, they both would have been drafted in the first 2 rounds. Because Shadour has a defensive back's personality, and you can't have that at the quarterback position, but he is the closest thing to his father in personality of, hey, I don't care about what's going on. If it ain't for me, then it ain't for me. I'm going to go out there and play. And when you're looking for a CEO of a team and of a locker room, that's a tough personality to have because there's so many other factors that need to also be at their best for you to be at your best. Whereas at a DB on an island, my job, we could be down 50-0. And if I stop this guy from catching the ball, I'm him, and I'm getting a big contract for it. Not really how the quarterback position works. And I think that demeanor is one thing that hurt Shadour, to your point, about how he's gone through the process or answered some of the questions the same way that you would expect Dion to answer him.
The further away you get from the ball in the NFL, the more boisterous the personality historically.
You can have it that way.
Yeah.
That's what we want out of my DBs.
Yeah,
you know?
and we've seen it like with guys with certain talent levels fall under the weight of that. Johnny Manziel, never that good,
Right.
but it was something that they said about Baker, and they wrote Baker off, and he's still like. Even Tom Brady still has an issue with it. Baker's still kind of beefing with Tom Brady because he has a different way to do it, but he has a special arm. I'm not sure Shadour has a special arm. What I do see when I look at Shadour's tape is I see a team that had the most wide receivers in the NFL drafted.
Yeah.
Like there was a lot of weapons there. An NFL mind, say what you will about him. Lord knows I have my feelings, but Pat Shurmur, like that has NFL experience from high school, working with the best coaches. You mentioned it yourself. He was learning at the knee of Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Everything around Shadour Sanders was kind of built for him to excel.
And I think that hurt him. I think Shadour Sanders is a good quarterback, and I'm not just saying this. I think he is better than people are giving him credit for, because I think all those factors, when you look at what is sports nepotism, basically, a version of it, you're thinking, oh, everything is set the stage for you. Whereas the only real test we have is when you throw it through the fire. So, yes, your dad coaching you from little league all the way through your college career, no matter how good you are, is going to make people question. And when it feels like everything is built for your success, it's going to make people question your ability. But I will say, when you look on camera, on film, he is doing things that a lot of quarterbacks can't do. He has a feel. He has a timing. He doesn't get rattled in the pocket. He doesn't get rattled with pressure. He makes big-time throws and getting punched in the face. And even when you draft a quarterback top 10, that is still a question mark. Like, Are you going to stand in there, make the right throw when you have NFL caliber linebackers with that speed, moving at the speed of Mack trucks, coming to hit you? And Shadour does that really well. But I think all the other factors, to your point, give people the out of saying, well, then that is great in this. And yeah, he does have really great receivers, but most good quarterbacks make receivers look good as well.
Here's where I'm most concerned, though. We all acknowledge that he was put in a situation in Colorado and from pretty much since birth to have him excel.
Yeah.
Now he's going to Cleveland.
Yeah.
A franchise that doesn't do that for its quarterback. that is not
historically
a place.
Has not.
It's not a place where.
No.
What about the Cleveland Browns organization and the lack of stability makes you think that Shadour, who maxed out as a 5th-round draft pick, despite all that stuff that was positive around him, that was built for him to succeed, now all of a sudden he gets to Cleveland, he's not going to have that. I just don't think it's going to work because it never works for this franchise.
I mean, that sounds like you're setting the stage for the Hallmark movie of a Cleveland Browns Super Bowl, man. That's what he needs.
Yeah, but it might be for Kenny Pickett.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Cedric Tillman, wide receiver 1.
But it is how football works. Like you got to go through some hard times to give yourself the motivation. So, yeah, Tom Brady giving him that advice is sound advice, but also it's needed. Like, you got to go through hard things in order to figure out how you process this. So the chips are stacked against him for the first time in his career. No matter what he says in a press conference of like, yeah, I've been through hard times. No, you've grown up. I'm sure things are hard. Things are hard for everybody. But comparatively to some of the other stories we've seen, like this is his first real bit of football adversity.
He's not AB.
People are turning their backs on you now. Now, is that going to drive you? And this is going to tell us who you are. And if you come out on the other side, you've now practiced the process that actually push you to maximize what the talent is that you have.
I just don't even understand, like, the setup, though. Like, can he even get off to a good start given what's in that quarterback room
Maybe
there?
not.
Because, like, Joe Flacco's going to be getting reps because you look at the quarterback room and I guess you assume Joe will enter their offseason training program
starter?
as QB1.
Eh.
You don't think so?
I mean, right now, yes, but
they
I
have
don't
too
think...
many. They have too many quarterbacks for a quarterback battle right now.
They
Like,
do.
how do you even like? You
They
need
get rid of
3.
one.
They
If I
gotta
was-
get rid of one.
If I was to guess, I think they get rid of Kenny Pickett.
You think?
I do.
I mean, how bonkers! They just traded for him. They're going to trade Kenny Pickett before they even put him in an orange helmet.
I mean, what do they lose there? 5th rounder? Come on. We've
DTR
given-
too.
You know what? As
No,
a
DTR
famous
is
quote,
gone.
Jimmy
I'm saying
Haslam told
they
me when he
traded
was
DTR.
when he was quoting me and when he was courting me for free agency. A famous quote was, "I'm not trying to win the Cap Cup," and he's okay with losing compensation if it means his team is better.
I mean, they've got Jerry Jeudy, they've got Njoku, they've got a running game that is proof of concept, and they just brought in Judkins, right? So, I mean,
They like Dylan. I think Shadour is going to surprise him as well. I think it ends up being those two. Maybe they start with Joe Flacco, and they put themselves in a situation where they have some capital down the line. But I think they got 2 really good quarterbacks in this draft. You know who tanked Shadour's draft status the most, Mike?
Who?
It was an inside job. It was Cam Ward. Think about every video you saw of them together.
yeah, Cam Ward would.
And it's
dog
like
him.
they're friends, right? They're buddies. They've trained. And every time it'd be like, yeah, all I care about is football. You can rap. Or, man, you don't like to work hard. That's weird because I love to work hard. And as more and more the
You're gonna drink water
videos
now?
came out,
This is insane.
I was like-
I am not blaming.
I was
Cam
like,
Ward
whoa, hold on now.
because everything that
with
Cam Ward
friends
was saying
like
was
that,
true.
who needs enemies,
He's
bro?
got a point. He's got a point.
Come
the
on,
point
dude.
is that Cam Ward accurately called out Shadour.
I'm just saying,
On
in
his
front of the
shortcomings?
cameras,
Hey, you didn't have to put it on film.
it feels like dry hating is what it. If you accumulate all the videos,
Hating.
put it together, and it's like if those are the 2 1 and 2 quarterback, and it's like, well, let's see them together and how they interact, how they train. And he keeps saying stuff like, yeah, all I eat, sleep, and breathe football because I ain't got nothing else. All I care about is winning. You got everything else. And Shadour is not – he playing into it. He's not even aware. I'm wanting to be like, Shadour, bro, catch the game, man.
Of course he's playing into it.
You catch the game, dude.
You're not going to win that
He's
mental battle.
oblivious.
You're not going to win that. First off, you're not going to win that arm battle against Cam Ward if you're Shadour Sanders, and you're not winning the mental battle because that dude ran the wing T in high school.
I saw that video. I was like, man, Ken Ward's a nerd.
There's at least
honestly.
5. There's at least 5 videos of them together.
Yeah, I was like, oh, come
where
on.
it has that same
You're
tone
boring,
in everything they talk about.
What was weird is like he turned
Genius
that
by Cam,
he
by the
turned
way.
that around on Shadour because Shadour was like, you were late to practice. It starts with Cam Ward was doing the unprofessional thing. Nobody pays attention to that because
Exactly.
Cam Ward dunks on him so hard.
Dude.
He's like, yeah, you were waiting on me, but when I got here, I was a freaking man, and you were the unprofessional one. How did that happen to Shadour Sanders? That's
Diabolical.
Dude, that's the most concerning part.
Diabolical.
That's the most concerning part for Shadour to lose that banter right there because Shadour was there on time. And everyone thinks that he's the clown.
Yes.
Everyone thought he got clowned.
He's the one that shows up late. He's
Yeah.
the one that doesn't work hard. Man, genius by Cam Ward, man.
I did something yesterday. I was working from home, and I did something that I, quite frankly, haven't done in my entire life. I binged an entire series in one day. Now, it was only 6 episodes, but I'm a big NASCAR fan, and I caught
Sounds
up
like you
to-
weren't working from home. If you
I
watched
was.
an entire series.
I mean, math will tell you that
Really?
it's almost
background
impossible.
watch.
Put the work in.
I think if anybody can understand how crazy this job can be away from it, it might be you. So, yeah, I was working plenty. But I watched 6 45-minute episodes, beginning with the morning coffee and like throughout the day until late at night. Not a crazy day in sports. Was able to follow them on the 2 TVs. And I watched NASCAR Full Speed Season 2 on Netflix. And it was awesome. Clearly, because I burned through it an entire day. Now, I know Formula One set the template for this stuff. Everybody wants a Formula One style Netflix show for their sport. Many have tried, many have failed, many have actually put up respectable efforts. But there's something about motorsports that really leans in. And I really loved this show. And I didn't feel alienated by it as somebody that follows the sport week to week. I didn't feel like they were talking to me dumb. I appreciated the insight that they had in terms of context that they offered. I certainly appreciated the access. I don't think there's really many athletes like Denny Hamlin on the planet that talk so much shit yet haven't won a championship. Like Denny Hamlin, like straight up, like they do a supercut of the stuff that he did. Denny Hamlin once went into Alex Bowman while Alex Bowman won a race doing his spin out stuff. Denny Hamlin crashed into Bowman's car, gave him double middle fingers, and just kept pushing on the gas. It's like the most insane person ever. And I really, really would give this show like the highest endorsement. I know Billy is our motorsports expert. I don't know if you plan on getting around to it. Our boy Blaney is heavily featured in this, Billy. If I could pay $10,000 to be on one shuttle, it'd be his wife's shuttle to go to Homestead. That looked fun.
Really?
That looked fun. Yeah, he's got like a supermodel for a fiance at the time.
Cuervo train was fun.
Cuervo train was indeed fun. Yeah, but Talladega, they feature Talladega. It's really well done, so I would give that a really high endorsement. Roy, I don't know if you have time for watching many series at home, but I overheard you before the show talking about a house fire, and I was not up to speed. Was this your house that caught on fire?
No, next door neighbor's house caught on fire.
That's
and
scary.
It was
Like,
interesting.
What kind of blaze?
It felt like a smoldering blaze, but there were like 5 ladder trucks outside trying to put that thing out.
So that is a smoldering blaze.
Yeah.
That is a smolder. If you got, I don't know what, I think more than 2 fire trucks is concerning.
Yeah.
Because one, you're like, maybe somebody slipped and fell.
Was it a situation
Cat
where
in a tree, maybe.
you
2
just
feels like protocol. Like you got to show up with 2.
5.
Maybe one guy was next to him, like, oh yeah, I'll go with
Yeah,
you.
5 does feel like a smoldering situation.
was this you discovering it and like making the call, or you just saw the trucks out there, so you got there late, kind of thing?
No, I was in the middle of being a guest on a Panthers podcast when Anit came in and said, "Hey, house is on fire."
Wait, this is the house right next door to you?
Yeah,
It's
right
the
next
one
door
that
with
you
the
fight
tree.
with them over the tree?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. I apparently found out.
Wait a
house
second.
Prime suspect
Wait
over
a
here.
second.
Oh, someone's been complaining about that tree for a long time. Did the tree make it?
Again, I was in the middle of a podcast.
Yeah,
as a guest.
Perfect
Oswald
crime.
Sniper.
Perfect
Yeah,
alibi. You have your alibi.
Did the tree survive?
Were you
Yes,
on
it did.
camera? Is there video of the podcast or is it only audio?
Timestamp?
There's video.
I
on
love
the
how
podcast.
quick he gave us his alibi.
Like he
Yeah.
started.
Just so you know,
No one even asked.
Well,
Typically,
the
you don't
alibi
start
is
with the
red
alibi
flag.
when you're telling a story about a house burning down.
Well, the alibi is the funniest part because I had to leave in the middle of it because the firemen said, "Hey, you gotta get out of the house." So I
Yeah,
had to
likely
leave
the
in
firemen
middle of the
burst
evening.
into your
Firemen
house
let
and
you
been
know.
like,
They
you
were
gotta get out of here.
They were going to houses surrounding it, like, "Hey, you got to
Because-
evacuate." Wow.
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
for sure, I found out when the firemen told me.
I was in the office. I had no idea outside of my wife telling me.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I didn't treat it seriously because she didn't say it was the next door neighbor. I thought it was
Good.
across the street, but
Yeah.
it was the next door neighbor. Which, by the way, I found out the house has been vacant for 2 months.
Wow.
Did we find out what started
Well, you
it?
found out when you were inside the house, lighting it on fire.
No, I found out outside.
And then I pulled my mask down and I thought, There's nobody in here.
Not a single person.